Okay, calling the public session of the December 18th meeting to order. Firstly, apologies for being late. Sometimes we can't anticipate how long exec session goes, so that's what happened, but apologies for that. Thank you for being patient. And welcome to the last board meeting of the calendar year, halfway through the academic year, so to speak. I think the first order of business is to approve the minutes. Connie, I think there's been a couple drafts of those. I think you captured the comments that I'd made with Dan. And did anybody else have any comments or changes to the minutes that were circulated earlier? Great. So can we get a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Roy, I think.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. As this is the last meeting of the calendar year, I want to wish you all a great holiday season and a very happy new year, and look forward to an exciting 2019 ahead. So all the best wishes for you and your families. I do want to let the board know we did have a teacher who received an award that I just found out about. Justine McClellan, who's our biology or science teacher, does the work with the Bronx River Science, was invited to the Bronx River Alliance Party and was surprised with an award for the Ripple Effect Award, which is given in recognition of exceptional leadership and initiative to engage your community with the Bronx River. So I want to congratulate Justine for a well-earned award. She does a great job with our students on the whole Bronx River Science Project, and I want to extend our appreciation and congratulations to her for that. The next thing up on our agenda is the entire guidance department is here to provide a review of what's happening in the guidance department these days, kind of a state of the guidance department. So at this time, I think, Ann, you're going to come up first? You're going to have everybody come up? I'm not quite sure. Anna Baticola, our Director of Guidance, will come up to introduce things and get things kicked off so you can get a sense of what's been happening.
Good evening, everybody. Let me give you a little background first. During the 2016-17 school year, planning began for the relocation of the counseling offices from our current temporary space that we have been in since 2007, since the flood, and to a newly constructed area, which is to be located right off the Meadow Avenue entrance to the school. And we're looking forward to having individual offices as well as wonderful group spaces to deliver our programs to students individually and in large and small groups. We started thinking about how we could best utilize the new space, and to do so, we visited several schools that had recently undergone renovation. And in the spring of 2017, we were here before the board to speak about our plans for the design and to present some of those ideas that we had come away with from the schools that we visited. Last year, 2017-18, gave us time to reflect more closely on our programs, to get feedback, informal and formal through a district-initiated survey that was conducted by Dr. Martin Brooks from Tri-States, who interviewed students, parents, teachers, administrators, and the counselors. This feedback contributed to our existing action plan and resulted in movement in a number of areas. Additionally, this year, the New York State Education Department has a revised plan for counseling and guidance that focuses on a K-12 philosophy and extends to 3 areas: social emotional development, academic development, and future planning with a bent towards college. Tonight, we're all here from the counseling department to give you a sense of our programs, what have existed in the past, the new programs that we've initiated, and what we're looking at going forward to the 2019-20 school year.
Hi, I'm Jim Agnello from the middle school.
Lisa DeSanto from the middle school.
So in the middle school, we have two counselors, Lisa and myself, working together as a team. In our direct student services area, we're helping students navigate new expectations, the curriculum, and their responsibilities as a student, and for many of them with many extracurricular activities. We serve as a constant to the students during all 3 years of their middle school experience, helping them learn study habits related to executive functioning, managing anxiety, which is pretty popular these days, unfortunately, stress reduction, and coping with loss and change as some examples. We also counsel individual students that have 504s or IEPs. There are about 25 of them in our caseload that have individual counseling once per cycle, and working with students that are self-referred to us, parent referrals, and teacher referrals. In an indirect manner in our work, we work very closely with the teachers, the students obviously, and parents to support a positive school experience for all students. And we serve as a liaison with outside professionals and help families connect and navigate to all facets of the middle school. On the school level, or zooming out a bit to a larger scale, we help and attend the agendas for all team meetings, and those team meetings come in several formats. Every week, which is a 6-day cycle, we have individual grade levels, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. All the teachers meet with Tom and Joyce Festola as the principal and psychologist, Lisa and myself, and then all of the teachers. And we handle anything from is a student missing several homeworks? Are there changes or patterns in the way they're going about their week? Are teachers seeing the same thing with the same student, or is it working really well in one classroom and not so well in another classroom for a student? So it gives us a lot of weekly feedback, which gives us the opportunity to be way ahead of the curve instead of trying to be reactive when a report card comes out. So we also attend a weekly student support team meeting, which is that same kind of team of Tom, Joyce Festola as the psychologist, Lisa, and myself. And that is more focused on individual needs, if there needs to be some kind of intervention or some type of partnership with the parents to help their students through a situation or a family situation. And that we meet once a week every Monday afternoon for that. That's kind of an overview. To kind of sum it up, Lisa and I have become pros with dealing with middle school drama, which happens on a regular basis if you walk the hallways. And at the end, we'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Barbara from the high school. I work with 9th through 12th graders. I'd like to share some details regarding the slide that highlights our high school counseling program, which have evolved over the years. This information can be found on our online counseling website, which was updated this past summer by our department. The programs that have existed for years are highlighted in blue. Those that were implemented in the last year or so are shown in green, and the purple indicates changes this year as a response to recommendations from the recent Tri-State study, or as we saw a need. Hard to see the color a little bit, I'm sorry about that. To begin, all students are reminded that they are always welcome in our office. We have an open door policy inviting them to come in whenever they have a need, a question, or just want to chat and catch up. Family meetings are provided consistently at every grade level every year. The family meetings have been in progress for many, many years to provide opportunities for both counselors to get to know the students and parents, and of course for families to get to know the counselor. It has been helpful to meet in this manner in addition to other meetings that can be arranged as needed so that we gradually come to know our students well over the course of 4 years. This meeting time is used to review the progress of each student, to discuss student activities, summer plans, to consider a testing schedule as needed, and to provide time to answer questions and to plan for courses the following year, including teacher recommendations for those courses and courses that the students are interested in. Prior to the family meeting, students in each grade will attend a grade level meeting when department leaders present their course information as it pertains to each of their grades. Students can then make informed decisions as they enter the course requests online. New this year from Challenge Success are time management forms that Ellen Cohen will talk more about later. Students' grades are reviewed quarterly by counselors, and meetings are arranged by the counselor and/or student and parent to discuss concerns about academic progress on an as-needed basis. Students new to our district are invited in with their parents for an orientation meeting prior to the beginning of the school year to learn about Bronxville High School. Student volunteers speak with our new students about life at Bronxville High School, walking them around the building to help them to become familiar with our school and to show locations of rooms and answer questions. Many of these students who help are students who at one time had been new to Bronxville High School themselves. Taking it a little bit through the grades, 8th grade, in addition to the meetings we mentioned, the high school counselors actually get to meet with the 8th graders in the spring of 8th grade. At that time, the 4 counselors divide the 8th grade advisories into groups, and each counselor speaks with the group about high school, including what to expect from the transition, course planning, extracurricular activities, homework expectations, and much more. Questions are answered, and students are also given note cards to write questions that they might not feel comfortable asking aloud. We return to that group again the same week, bringing along a couple of high school students who then speak with them about 8th grade, sharing their experiences as they transitioned, details about course selection, importance of involvement, study habits, and more. Time is set aside to answer questions with the students as well. In the following weeks, there are meetings for evenings, parent orientation, which is presented by Ann Meyer and Anna Baticola. And finally, 8th grade students and parents are also invited to meet with their designated counselor to have their course planning meeting. In 9th grade, from day 1 of high school, the 9th graders are also welcome to an orientation on the first day, along with the help of student leaders that we train. Student leaders begin their morning meeting with the students, taking their small group of 9th graders, talking to them about the first day, their schedule, touring the building. Students are again reminded that they have a place and a person to go to at any time if they have a question, and the counseling office is one of the stops on the tour to remind them where they can find us. Student leaders continue to meet with the incoming 9th graders into the first semester. Also, during the first week of school, there is a grade-level picnic and activity fair, which is organized by, I think, Mr. Lassane. The evening also includes a parent information meeting with the counselors and the principal while students meet with their new club leaders and team leaders downstairs and sign up at that time. Through second quarter, counselors meet with 9th graders individually as they are able. This is a change. This is one of our green colors up there. This change has been made this year, moving from small group meetings with 9th graders to individual ones in an effort to have more meaningful time together. Students are encouraged to ask questions specific to their progress and allows time for counselors to speak directly with the students and get to know each other better. In 10th grade, students are introduced to Naviance, and time is given in the second semester to explore Naviance via career and interest inventories. They're guided through the websites during initial small group meetings led by counselors using inventories and then discussions to process their results. Students continue to have access to this website for college exploration, inventories, and related college information. I'm almost done. I'm sorry, mine's very lengthy. In 11th grade in the fall, there is a large post-high school meeting. It is presented early in October to accommodate students who wish to get an early start. This meeting is a junior kickoff meeting highlighted as suggested on the timetable for juniors to follow to help track their college planning. This was also something that we changed. When I was here 19 years ago, we were having that meeting in January. We moved it over the years to November, and just this year we moved it to October. So you can see how early people are starting with all that process, and it's been, I think, a good change. Tips and information are provided about college visits at that time, options for college testing, considerations regarding teachers who they'd like to ask for recommendations and talk about brag sheets, and all the details that we need to go over to get them started. New initiatives for juniors include a transition to college speaker. Last year, author and motivational speaker Harlan Cohen proved to be informative and engaging, helping students regarding the college application process and the transition to college. Junior workshops are another new initiative begun last year. They're held in the second semester, and Ellen Cohen will elaborate more on this topic. It's been a great addition, though. 12th grade seniors and juniors are all invited to attend fall meetings with visiting college representatives. The visits begin in September and continue through late October into early November. This year, we had about 90 college representatives visit our school, in which anywhere from 2 to about 20 students would attend, along with a counselor. We attend all the meetings with the students. We take turns meeting everybody, and we've built a lot of relationships as a result of that. It is a wonderful opportunity for students to explore colleges that they had not previously considered, to collect additional information from a college representative regarding a school they may know more about, but want to ask specific questions even about the application. Additionally, it may be helpful to view the additional documents on our website, which provide lots of details about our counseling service grade to grade. Thank you.
Thanks.
Could we get a copy of this?
Yeah.
The next two slides have to do with the action plan that I referred to earlier. The action plan, as I mentioned, was begun in last fall and then has been improved upon over last year and the beginning of this year. So as far as our vision or mission, I guess it could be best stated thus: we are committed to reaching all students, to assisting them towards social emotional growth, academic success, and solid planning for post-high school study and careers based upon their interests. We encourage our students to reflect upon their academic and extracurricular accomplishments in terms of growth in one or more of the dispositions of the Bronxville Promise, and endeavor to help them plan further growth. We foster development and self-advocacy in each of our students so that when they leave us, they will be able to navigate college successfully and continue their contributions to their new community. The next area, which has undergone multiple changes, is communication. This was identified through Dr. Brooks' study and identified through our own study of our practices. The counseling page of the Bronxville High School website is an example that Barbara spoke about extensively. It contains details of our programs at each grade level, as well as a calendar for the year, including standardized test dates, our evening parent meetings, and registration and administration dates for those. It also contains the high school profile, which I'll speak about in a moment, a compilation of summer course activities and options for our students who are looking for a worthwhile academic or extracurricular or outdoor activity for the summer. All information that we provide at our evening parent meetings, including any forms that are relative to junior and senior activities, are also contained on our page in the website. And in the fall, an update of the date and time of the college visitors is also contained there. This year, we moved our paper calendars to the Google Calendar. And we maintain our Google Calendar in conjunction with the You Can Book Me site so that anyone can schedule an appointment with us electronically. They can check our schedule and see when our free time is on the system and then make an appointment with us. We are beginning to use the Remind Me app as well, which will allow us to maintain text contact with our students. And we're going to be distributing the codes for students to obtain the app and then connect with us during our family meetings that will be beginning in January. We see many students, however, who come in before school, at lunchtime, between classes, or at the end of the day, and there's no need to have an appointment. Our doors are always open. If we aren't available when they come in, we try to arrange a time for them to return. We certainly want them to wait if there's an emergency. We also rely heavily on our clerical support, Roseanne Silvas and Liz Chiaverini, who greet students as they come in and try to get a sense of what their needs are and then convey that to us so we can hear their concerns so we can address them as well. We are also trying to encourage our students to read email correspondence. And this is really important because it's really the main source of communication in college and in adult professional lives. Students really need to do this as they mature to separate their social and academic and professional life. So we hope that this is another goal that we can accomplish by the end of the year with our seniors so that they will be able to receive those communications during college. Another change in communication has to do with the high school and middle school council meetings. I've always been attending the high school council meetings to give an update of what our department is doing. This fall, however, we all attended one of the high school council meetings, and Jim Agnello attended the evening middle school and high school council meeting to speak about important current aspects of activities that the counselors were attending, meetings that we've attended, and professional development that we've been involved in. And this was very well received, so hopefully we'll be regulars invited at all the council meetings. The next is the high school profile. The profile is a document that, in concentrated form, gives lots of information about the school district, the size of the district, the per pupil expenditure, and other aspects of the school district. We provide information about our senior class, their cumulative grade point averages, their performance in the various academic areas, and their AP participation, all intended to notify the colleges to give them adequate information about our students so they can make informed decisions in the admission process. I have copies of the profile here. Dan, if you want to distribute, pass them along, so if you'd like to see the profile. The profile is also contained on our webpage, and in the profile, as I said, we talk about the size and location of the district. We describe the Bronxville Promise. We highlight special academic programs and give information about our grading scale and so forth. In order to provide additional information to further distinguish our offerings, this year we added a roster of course offerings and highlighted some unique choices, such as the online courses through OC21, Bronx River Research, Humanities Research, Playwriting, Mandarin, Advanced Physics, Bronco TV, and the numerous independent studies that our students are involved in to demonstrate the versatility that we have within a relatively small school. And then finally on this slide, transition to college. Our responsibility to our seniors doesn't end with filing their applications and forwarding their academic records to the colleges. We want to do more on the subject of transition to college with them. This Thursday, we've invited several of our graduates as part of a reception that we host for graduates each year at this time to serve as a panel, and all of the seniors will be attending this panel so that they can hear from our recent graduates about their transition to college, how their first semester went, and perhaps get some good advice about what they should think about now in anticipating their college first semester. We hope to continue by providing some other workshops for our students throughout this semester, and then in anticipation of Senior Week, we will likewise be participating in Senior Week activities for our seniors.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Cohen. Nice to be here with you tonight. Continuing on. In terms of some changes we made in regards to high school planning, Barbara Dine spoke a little bit earlier about our junior meeting being moved up to earlier in the year. This year, for the first time, we had our junior meeting in October. By having it in October, we allowed families to take advantage of some of the long weekends that we have in the fall for travel, enabling them to travel and visit colleges, taking advantage of some days off that we had. Families expressed that this was really helpful to them, so we were happy to hear that feedback. And another thing that was really great that we were able to do last year is the addition of the junior workshops. The junior workshops are a once-a-cycle class that all juniors participate in. The juniors were divided up into classes of about 20, and each class of 20 meets with 2 counselors. You might be meeting with your counselor, or you might be meeting with 2 counselors that are not yours. And it was great because we were able to meet students that we knew. We were able to meet students that we might not have known, and students were able to really get to know all of the counselors throughout their time in junior workshop. And it really made a nice bond for the counselors and the junior class. In these junior workshops, which we had once a cycle, and we'll be beginning again second semester, we went through the nuts and bolts of the college process. We had all the students get really familiar with Naviance, do college searches. We had them start their Common application. We were able to really circulate in the room and have, answer all their questions and have them really feel like they had a handle and have made some progress on a lot of the college nuts and bolts tasks before they even left for the summer. So it was really a great thing that we were able to do, and we're looking forward to starting again. In terms of course enrollment, we had the addition of the grade level meetings with the curriculum leaders. These were assemblies that we'll be having, and we're going to be doing it again, where we invited all of the curriculum leaders to present to each grade about the courses that were available to them in each of their disciplines, both the major subject areas and the electives. So students really had a sense of what the workload was like, and what the electives were about, and what their choices were. And the curriculum leaders they would do a slide and really express to students what was the expectations. And after that meeting, they would go home and have a chance to really think about all the subjects in total. And then the teachers were able to input their recommendations online. And students were able to log in online for the first time ever using our new Infinite Campus program and see what the teachers had recommended for them. So before they came in to meet with their counselor, they were able to talk about it at home and think about it at home, what the teachers had recommended for them, think about what they saw in the assembly. And then when they came in for their meeting with their counselor, they had a lot of information to come in with. The meeting with the counselor is something that is very important to us in the counseling department. It's a bedrock of our department, and it's something that we will always do and always continue to do because it's invaluable for us to have that time with our families. It's time that we really get to know our students, and we really look forward to that every year with them, and it's time that we really get to see them, grow and that check-in. But having that, that pre-work, I guess, before then made the discussion really fruitful. We're also working on a worksheet where students are able to kind of see, we're working with the departments so they see the workload commitment of each course, so they're able to see what their potential net workload could be. I think sometimes students are very optimistic about certain courses that are challenging and exciting and interesting, but they don't necessarily add up what the hours of homework per week could potentially look like. So these worksheet will kind of force students to think in black and white and see what that workload could potentially be and acknowledge that before they sign up for it. So this worksheet is in tandem with the Challenge Success Framework. We're having students kind of think about that. So that's another great idea that's in the works. And the last piece of it is tracking our graduates so we can really see what happens after they leave us. We'd always been surveying our graduates with some questions that we had when they came back and visited us, usually right around this time of year. But now we are fortunate to have received a foundation, a grant to expand on the surveys that we've done through LifeTrack. LifeTrack has some survey questions they always do, but it also enables us to customize questions that we have that are specific to Bronxville. And they'll do these questions. We'll be able to administer these questions senior year, 1 year out of high school, and then again 5 years out of high school to track our graduates and see, what their feelings are and how they feel about, their high school experience as they proceed on into the real world. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Aaron. I'm one of the school counselors at the high school. I'm just going to go back for a second. I wanted to show you all just real quickly. This was the counseling guide that the department made over the summer. I'm not going to go too far in depth, but if you're able to see on the left toolbar, there's, again, we kind of built off of that grid that you saw Barbara talk about and just gave more color to the different meetings that happen at each grade level. This also was generated from the suggestion of a parent that there should be a counseling handbook for high school parents and students, so we made that happen. We have a calendar. There's just one other thing that I wanted to show, and then I'll go back to our presentation. Excuse me. We put together a course sequence. I'm not going to get too far into it, but just to give students and parents an idea of what the progression is in English and history and science, et cetera, et cetera. Math has its own following link, but you can get an idea of what to expect as an incoming student. A lot of parents obviously have had students go through the high school, so they know what to expect, but for those that haven't, this is a good tool for them to reference. Just bear with me while I get back. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the professional development that has been occurring over the past. A lot of this is actually this past year, but this kind of goes back to 2017 and 2018. Professional development is something that the district takes very seriously, and as does the counseling department. I was sharing with the counselors that I recently read a book that talked about making a 1% improvement every day. And if you were able to improve 1% every day, by the end of the year, you were 37 times percent better. And so, not that any one development activity or new initiative that we've started is just 1% better, but generally speaking, I think collectively through the high school and the middle school, we're always looking to grow as counselors, as people. And so I'm happy to share with you some of these activities that we've done professionally to grow. Starting with the upper left quadrant, mastery.org is something that we've been exploring in the high school with the support of Anne, our principal. We've been looking at what that organization is doing in regards to the transcript and different ways to assess students that aren't grades-based. We're still very early in that process, but it's quite interesting and very forward-thinking and is exciting work. Challenge Success is another initiative that we continue to support in the counseling department. Most recently, myself and Ellen traveled with Anne to Boston to hear the founder of Challenge Success talk about their new white paper that they wrote regarding college fit. Denise Pope is coming back in, I believe, February to speak with parents about those findings related to college and college fit versus college rankings. Also, Barbara and Ellen referenced the kind of time management worksheet that we're going to be rolling out to the students. And I just want to stop here to say that a lot of the work we do wouldn't be possible without the help of Anne, and also without a tremendous help from our colleagues, the teachers, not just putting together that worksheet, but that's a good example, but just generally speaking, the support that both Anne and the teachers give us on a day-to-day basis makes all of this possible. Lastly, in the top left quadrant, really just sharing and learning with peer schools. Anna Baticola attends the directors' meetings for other counselors in the Westchester area. Whenever we're going to workshops, Ann and I were at a workshop over the summer, which we actually left off here, but nonetheless, you're just always talking about what's happening, right? And I will say that this past summer we were talking about our individual meetings at a big workshop, and everybody, I think the room went silent when we mentioned that we meet with every single family in the district regarding courses. They were pretty surprised. To the top right quadrant, NACAC is a National College Admissions Counselors Association. This in September, they have an annual multi-day workshop. With the help of the foundation, flew out to Salt Lake City for a few days and attended that workshop. I went back and looked at some of the meeting topics that I attended. So there was creating a student-centered college counseling curriculum. So that was like an hour-and-a-half workshop. Maintaining and building relationships across the desk. So it was about counselors and admissions representatives communicating more throughout college admissions, if you will. And last, not least, but last, changing perceptions, large public universities and the myth of the backup school. So it was a rich discussion from actually high schools out west talking about some of the big flagship universities in Arizona and California and how they're no longer safety schools or backup schools, and how we can kind of shift the conversation among students to say, oh, you've been accepted to, and whatever the name of the school is, and they're like, yeah, but it's my safety school. And we should really just be like celebrating and encouraging them for any school that they're being accepted to, and not, labeling it as less than, if you will. The second point, fly-ins, breakfast, day visits. This is just a few. Ellen recently went to a breakfast for what they were calling themselves 8 of the best liberal arts universities: Claremont, Colorado College, Connecticut College, Sarah Lawrence, Macalester, Kenyon, Haverford, and Grinnell. I was at a breakfast in, I think it was May. Pennsylvania 7, Bucknell, Lafayette, Dickinson, Gettysburg, Franklin and Marshall, Lehigh, Muhlenberg. As you can imagine, those breakfasts with a lot of colleges are really rich discussions, and a lot easier to do than fly all the way to Salt Lake City to, talk to people. So we try to make use of those when they come around, and it's usually like at the end of an admission cycle. So May is often when we start getting invited to things of that nature. And then day visits. I believe Ann's going to Richmond. Barbara went to Texas. So we're always trying to get out there and make sure we have our pulse on the, our finger on the pulse and our boots on the ground, and we're staying ahead of the curve. Ann's also been a member of the advisory board to Southern Methodist, part of a scholarship committee at Rollins College, and so we're always networking and building relationships. Moving to the bottom left quadrant, Ann recently attended an ACT workshop. We've noticed a growing number of students taking the ACT in the high school. Recently, in October, we administered the PSAT. So essentially, this workshop was to find out more about administering the practice ACT, which we're still discussing. It would take a day away of instruction, so we're determining whether or not that's the best use of the high school's time. And then below that, I believe, as Barbara mentioned, every year college representatives are coming to visit juniors and seniors in the fall. This year we had 90 visitors, 90 different colleges. And as I think Barbara mentioned, they share with the students what's happening at school, what the application process is like. But of more importance maybe to us as counselors, we're able to spend a few minutes with them and ask them what's new, kind of what they're seeing come across their desk. We're able to share with them about Bronxville, what's new in terms of the course offerings or new programs or things of that nature. And to the bottom right, to kind of finish out kind of all the different hats that we wear, if you will, in, I believe it was May of 2017, the middle school and high school counselors attended a 5-day DBT training, which I believe was also with the help of the foundation. School psychologists were also there. that led to DBT groups running in the middle school, and I've been I'm in daily communication with our high school psychologist, but as it relates specifically to DBT groups, I think she's hoping to get those off the ground in January. And just general mental health and social emotional workshops, covering everything from mindfulness, bereavement, and gender identity. And then I just wanted to mention, I think it was due to, I guess, basically the need to educate the teachers through in 6 through 12. In April of 2017, Lisa DeSanto tracked down somebody and kind of on our counseling department's behalf invited somebody from GLSEN of Hudson Valley, that's the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, to give a talk to the teachers about students that are going through or thinking about or just questioning their gender and their identity, and how we can be tolerant and accepting in the classroom as a district. I think Anne's going to talk about next steps.
So what's in store for us as we go forward? We had been speaking last year about eliciting feedback from our constituents, from those whom we serve, on an informal basis, and then perhaps forming a committee of representatives of each of these groups to accomplish this. Coincidentally, the New York State Education Commissioner's regulations speak of each district forming a committee to a counselor advisory committee. So we are planning to contact parent councils, teachers, students, perhaps the representative from the board would be available to meet as an advisory committee, perhaps twice or 3 times a year. And we hope to meet in the spring with those representatives to plan how we can best learn and grow together from forming that committee. We've been working this semester on restating our plan, as I mentioned earlier, in line with the 3 areas that the State Education Department has asked us to review, those social, emotional, academic, and future planning areas. And also, as it is a K through 12 plan, we need to make some have some discussion about how that's going to be implemented in the elementary area. Another area that we identified that we'd like to work further in is in the community services that are available here. We know the people from the Counseling Center, from the Maxwell Institute, the Bereavement Center has come in and assisted us when we've had need for them, but we really feel that we'd like to make a stronger connection with them going forward. And that would result in helping us and helping our students to have a better grasp on the services that they offer in a more proactive way. And that's what's really most important here. As Aaron mentioned, the DBT training that the counselors and psychologists were exposed to, and Jim and Lisa will be training the advisory teachers going forward to use the DBT training within the small advisory groups that are held in the middle school twice a cycle. Also, we hope to engage students on a more informal level to help us on a day-to-day basis to react immediately to programs that we offer, to give us feedback so that we can reevaluate and make those adjustments. And finally, we continue to explore innovative ways to connect with all of our students through our networking with counselors from other districts, through our reading, participation in professional development, and feedback from parents, teachers, and administrators. And we certainly invite your input and the community's input at any time, as well as that from the staff and administration. So thank you so much for listening to our programs. We hope that we've given you a sense of what we've done and the direction in which we're going forward in anticipating that wonderful new space that will be available for the counseling department within a very short period of time. So thank you.
Questions?
Yeah. Do folks have questions? I have a couple questions. One is, do you do outbound college visits amongst the guidance counselors? And if so, how many a year, and what's the program there?
Well, there are a number of variations of the visits. For example, as Aaron mentioned, I'll be going to the University of Richmond at the end of January. It's a counselor fly-in, so that's a trip that is exclusively to that one school. There are a number of consortium trips from time to time. So we visited schools in Pennsylvania. Those 7 schools that host a breakfast, for example, might have a 3 or 4 day trip and invite counselors from different areas of the states in different years. So I know I've visited Maryland, Virginia, New Hampshire, and you have the opportunity to visit many schools in several days. I also, a few years back, did 2 trips to California. The Western Association of College Admissions Counselors sponsors tours of Northern and Southern California. So over 2 summers, I was able to see 30 colleges in California. And there are a number of programs. Barbara was down at UT in Austin earlier this year, and Ellen has been to Chicago and visited some colleges. We have also attended from time to time workshops with other counselors that are hosted on college campuses, and then we'll have the opportunity to view colleges in those areas. So we try to take advantage of the consortium visits and the fly-ins, because for these in particular, the colleges will host us at no cost to us or to the district. So they're really a wonderful way to get to see the school and to network with the administration as well, and to tell them about Bronxville.
Great, thank you. My second question is for the middle school. So there's 2 counselors. I count 400 kids, roughly. It's a lot of kids. Do you see every kid throughout their middle school experience as a scheduled type, or as a sort of non-required meeting, or is it mostly ad hoc as necessary pursuant to the weekly sessions that you described?
We touch base with each student, especially in the 6th grade, to get to know them. And kids come to us, they just come to us. Parents ask us to see their children, teachers. But the general population, everyone gets seen and knows who their counselor is. And then obviously 7th and 8th grade, we stick with the same kids, so they will continue to know us.
But they're not required to come and see you like once a quarter or once every semester, or just to sit down, even if everything's going great, just to sit down and.
Well, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, one of the issues in any middle school is they don't have free periods. So whenever they're coming out for anything, whether it be counseling or even some special ed classes, they're missing something else. So it's a delicate dance of how much you take a student out. And then there's the dance between what's considered, quote, academic classes and explore classes. So then all of the 6th graders are only free during that one block. Mm-hmm. So you don't have, whereas in the high school, you have a wide range of periods to do that. We did in the past have a guidance explore class that got us to know the 6th graders in a different way. We now have moved to 6th grade advisors, so that we're getting the kids on the front end instead of having them in the 7th or 8th grade. And we are still actively looking for ways to expand exactly what you're talking about.
Thanks.
When you look at the universities, I've not seen this before, but if I look on the back page and there's like 160, 170 that we go to, how do you determine what universities aren't interested in our kids? Like if we look at some of these, I don't know, I just was looking through, like Notre Dame looks like one student went to Notre Dame over a 4-year period. Like, do we know how many actually applied there and got rejected?
We do maintain those records in Naviance, and those are available to anyone who would like to go into the Naviance site. We have a breakdown, a chart of each of the colleges, how many students applied, how many were admitted in any given year, and that goes back 10 years. Yeah.
And so these universities that we would like some of our kids to go to that don't get in, do we have reasons? Do they talk to us of why they're not accepting them?
Well, it's very interesting. Yes, we very often will consult the colleges if a student has not been accepted, and we'll ask for those reasons. And invariably, as the college admissions people review the student's transcript and application, they will go down the line and say, yes, this is a great student, good grades, wonderful activities, extracurricular activities, but we just couldn't accept that student. And there really are, we rarely, if ever, have had a conversation with a college admissions person where they've said, well, yes, this student should have had more science, more math, and so forth. Usually, and it is true because there are so many applicants, more and more applicants each year who could very well attend many of these schools, but the colleges are looking for a variety of students. They want to make up that well-rounded class. The recruitment is now international, and each college has a particular focus that it becomes more and more difficult. Each year when we get the statistics from the colleges, the percentage of admitted students goes down because more and more students are applying.
And how's the universities that they're interested in over time changed? Do you track, like, are students more interested in schools in the Midwest and the West, or is it still pretty much East Coast, or how's that changed?
I think in general, our students have become more willing to go out farther in the country or to study internationally, and it's really a very interesting phenomenon. We were just talking about how a particular university becomes interesting to a number of students because the comment has been made, well, why do so many kids go to that school? Well, all you need is one student to choose a university, go to that school, and come back and tell you how great it is. More students want to look at it, and ultimately you have 7 to 10 students perhaps in a year who want to attend that school. A lot of our student applications really come, as interest in colleges comes from students who hear from alums who come back and say, what a great experience I'm having at this college.
And then, there's this lawsuit against Harvard that's, interesting facts are coming out of it. And I know we, at the end of each year, we show, here's our graduates, and these are the schools they're going to. It was interesting to me that some of the facts I've gleaned from it, the acceptance level for certain types of students is much higher than just somebody applying to the school. Do we take that, when we look at our placement of our students, do we take that into effect? So when we say we send, I don't remember statistics, it's like 60% of our kids go to high achieving schools. I don't know if that's the right names. But if you look at that 60%, how many are legacy, how many get in for sports, some of the other facts that you're gleaming from this lawsuit?
We are aware of these variations. However, we really don't do much research in that area. College admission and the college post-high school planning search is really more about interest and fit than the name of the college or the level of competition of the college. And we really encourage our students throughout the junior workshops, for example, when we begin to talk about post-high school planning, we start with a unit called Who Am I? And that leads into what are my interests? And then we talk about all the variations in colleges and universities, and students come up with the ideal school. Where do I want to be? Do I want to be in a rural area? Do I want to be in an area where science is really, the main activity for me? So it all amounts to where would I be best fulfilled? And so we encourage our students to forget about the name of the school, forget about the level of competitiveness of the school. Think to choose those schools where you would have the best fit. And as a matter of fact, we have the Challenge Success program that recently has published a white paper called A Fit Over Colleges. And I know Denise Pope will be coming to Bronxville on February 5th, and we'll be speaking to parents about that, on that topic of their white paper. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr. Kelly, I think you're up.
Thank you. So as the counseling department is departing, I'd like to thank you for your time, for being here at this time of day. It's a long day for you. We're grateful for your work with our students and very much look forward to helping you with your vision and implementing your program. So thank you.
Thanks.
I have a number of resolutions before you this evening. The first is a early notification teacher retirement incentive. You've had an opportunity to review this in executive session. This allows those who are eligible, those teachers who are eligible for retirement as of June 30th to do so with a monetary incentive. They have to tell us by January 15th. So it allows us to plan to get out to the market early. And although we will lose as a result many years of experience, it's often exciting to bring in new teachers. So that is the retirement incentive. In addition, you have before you a settlement agreement that was reviewed in executive session, as well as leave replacements, a new teacher aide, some teacher aide substitute appointments, as well as a side letter for the clerical unit that we also discussed in executive session, a new varsity baseball coach, congratulations Anthony Vaglica, and a revised winter coaches roster, as well as hopefully a last revision to our co-curricular stipends, which now include spring musicals. So you have before you A through K.
Great. Can we get a motion to approve items A through K?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions for Dr. Kelly? Great. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlin.
We'll start with our current year financial and budget update. We are currently predicting forecasting a surplus approaching $300,000 at this point, driven by revenues, most specifically interest income. Rising yields in the market are filling our coffers a little bit on that budget line, which is good because things are a little tighter this year, especially on the expenditure side. Currently, I'm seeing maybe about $100,000 so far in personnel. After the new year is when we start to see any kind of budget surpluses in other areas, but it's definitely tighter than the prior year. Moving on to budget development for 2019-2020. I provided a first draft late last week to the board. As I mentioned at the last meeting, our cap for 2019-20 is estimated at this point to be about 4%. I don't think we're going to get that high. That's kind of an anomalous because of our assessment roles were increased somewhat, and that's a one-time thing that I believe it's with the Kensington project going online into the tax rolls. The budget I sent out, the preliminary budget, has about a 2.7% increase on the budget, about 2.6 on the tax levy. Still awaiting final teacher retirement system numbers, state aid numbers, and the budget sent out includes preliminary additions to staffing that will be discussed and vetted out in the budget process beginning in earnest in January and February.
Okay, thank you.
I have one financial action item. It's a donation we received from the ExxonMobil Education Alliance program to the general fund, and it's really just a local service station within the bounds or adjacent to Bronxville chose us as a site for a donation from ExxonMobil Corporate that supports local education. No strings attached, with the exception that it be devoted towards math and science, and money's fungible, and we do a lot of math and science, so it's no big deal. So I recommend that the board accept the $500.
Can we get a motion to approve the resolution to accept the gift?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Lot going on in facilities. Obviously, the gymnasiums are up and running. The fields are making significant progress on Chambers Field. Given the weather thus far, we've been pretty fortunate. But, when people ask me when's it going to be done, if we're lucky, April, probably May. If we're not lucky, June. That's pretty much the answer, because it's so weather dependent in January, February, and March. If we have a January, February, and March like we had in November and December, we can get it pretty quick. But if we're under 2 feet of snow for 2 months, then we won't.
So Dan, are they on schedule?
Yes.
Based on-
Yes. We were concerned that he wasn't peeling the turf back and getting rid of it, and he had a really good reason why. That's the protection for the surface. If he peels that off, because he can't put the new turf on until, say, March, begin to put it on, because of the adhesives used and things like that. He's leaving it there to protect the subsurface from debris that he would just have to clean out anyway. But we've been walking it, and we've actually had some really good news. When they took off the surface of the track, it looks like the underlying pavement was laid yesterday. And the initial contract called for that pavement to be removed and replaced. So that's going to be a significant savings. So, there will be a change order, but it'll be a credit change order. Down the road.
So in your view, they're doing, they can't get ahead of schedule, given that we've had 50-degree days and...
Well, I think they are ahead of where they thought they would be, but he gives us a schedule, but it doesn't mean much depending on what the weather's like in January, February, and early March.
So are you, basically, Dana, what you're saying is that there's just not a lot he can do now. So I'm wondering if we don't have a communication expectation gap, maybe, because I do think people drive by and go, they're
going
not
on?
doing
Yeah.
anything. And
It's like when
maybe
you
the
drive on the
bad-
highway and there's construction signs and there's nothing happening on
I see
them.
2 guys up on top and 20 guys.
No, he's done a lot of the drainage around that had to be replaced. He's done a lot of that. He's, today they took down the big ash tree that was growing up through the track.
And he's doing the concrete curbing
Yeah.
to replace that. So he's doing those kind of things, getting set up for the big rip-off and things like that. But you need a block of time, I guess, from decent weather you can count on to get that
Right.
done.
So it sounds like we never were going to be able to do the block until March, and I'm just wondering if
Maybe,
that's
yeah.
really what got communicated, and just because it's so visible, it just might be
Sure.
a good idea to
Yeah, fair
think
enough.
about our communication.
Sure.
around it.
Okay. Good idea.
Especially
provide
since
an
the
update.
last time it was because they didn't bring in enough people, I think people remember
Yeah,
that.
got it.
What's the not having to re-pour the concrete is, what kind of cost saving?
It depends, it's to be negotiated, but it could be,
There was a cost provided for doing it, right?
there is a number in the schedule of values. It's close to $100,000.
Okay.
A piece has to be replaced where the tree is being dug out of, but it's a much smaller piece than replacing the whole thing.
Sure.
I don't think the change order will be that high, because there's certain things we can do now, like new high jump mats that weren't in the original proposal, things like that we can talk about. But it'll definitely be a savings over what we initially projected. And when Roy and I talk about this stuff, we knock on wood all the time, because most of the news we've gotten so far in the project has been good news. So, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, but there's nothing nothing to see yet.
I think to Arlene's point, even explaining that you want to keep the surface on in order to protect it from the weather would be useful to let people know.
Yeah,
Sure.
Exactly, that's my point.
Sure.
And I think there's a website or a link to a website. I mean,
we have it
maybe put
updates.
up a what you should expect, kind of,
Yeah.
just a couple bullets, or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you might see people doing work on the track. Here's when you think you'll see it done and what's going on.
Sure. The other thing we have going on this week is beginning work on the ceilings in the playrooms, is the other part of Phase 1. That helps us get aid on the Chambers Field portion. That's scheduled to start this week and through next week, and probably a few days after break. And the playrooms will have new ceilings, quick and easy, hopefully. Phase 2, all hurdles have been passed with the state education department, so now it's on track for a third-party review, an expedited review, and we're targeting, I believe, a February-March period for bidding.
Yeah, it's about, I think they told us to expect about a 7-week time frame for the third-party review. So from now.
So that's, again, more good news. It's moving.
Provided it goes well, you get comments and you have to
Exactly.
see, and then
But-
I'm sorry, Dan.
Sure.
After we get the third-party review, it has to go back to the state at that point for them to put their quality control seal of approval on it.
Okay.
But again, we're meeting the aggressive timeline we've had so far. So far, so good. But, it could be somewhat derailed at any point off of our aggressive timeline, so
Think
we're
positively,
just staying positive. No action items as far as facilities go. I do have some other action items. There are 2 trips. One, the high school girls lacrosse team is proposing a trip to Tampa, and again, these trips are not funded through the general fund of the budget. They're funded by the people who going on the trips. The board approves these trips so that our liability insurance covers the kids when they're away. And the other trip is a high school Bridges to Community trip, which had traditionally gone to Nicaragua. I believe this year they're targeting the Dominican Republic. And Karen's here and Jim Agnello are here if there's any specific questions regarding either of those trips.
Do people have questions for Karen or Jim? Okay, can we get a motion to approve? Can we just do A and B together?
Sure.
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
So talk about policy real quick. As you know, we're continuing to update our policies on an ongoing basis. So you'll see a number of policies that are listed for a first reading. I point out the internet safety one is a new policy, which is required for our E-rate discounts. The rest are revised and updated based on new regulations, et cetera. So those are up for a first reading. The other ones are, there's a few policies that are required just a renumbering to put us in line with the New York School Boards Association numbering system. And there's 2 policies that are asked to be rescinded because they're covered in other places now. So that's what those are about.
So do we have to do a first read of the ones that are renumbering and as well, first and
No,
second of those, or
no.
just a renumbering is one and done?
Correct.
Okay.
So the first one requires a resolution to put those policies up for a first reading. Then you have the 2 separate two separate resolutions to rescind and renumber.
Okay.
First
Okay.
reading first.
Can we get a motion to approve the resolution regarding the first reading of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different policies?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? No. Great. And then we need a motion to renumber the 2 policies listed here.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? No, thank you. And lastly, a resolution with regard to rescinding policies that are covered elsewhere.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any against? No, thank you. Any board reports? I know there was a finance committee meeting, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was really around the budget and, you know, looking at some of the numbers with the current construction. But I think the only thing that would be new, other than Dan has been covered, on the positive, you said we were gaining interest income regarding our fund balances, but on the negative side, when we go to issue bonds, we're gonna be paying higher interest rates. That was contemplated when we put the plan together. We're still under the interest rates that we projected. But the only thing that Finance Committee thought about was that we can issue the bonds up to 2 years before the completion of the project. So we're contemplating, at this point, maybe issuing the bonds this spring before the interest rates continue to kind of increase. But we're monitoring it and
Yeah, see how the
what we
bids come
think.
in, and, you know, if we get good numbers, it may be worth looking at issuing the bonds right away. You know, if we get bids that are way over and it takes time to mull through that and value engineer and subtract things, then it might take a little longer. But if things proceed as planned, it might make sense to issue the bonds earlier before the yield curve, you know, keeps going up.
Okay. Any other committees that met? Great. The next board meeting isn't until the new year. And then we have a public discussion. Anybody from the public who'd like to address the board or the community? Okay, terrific. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy New Year.
You as well.